Let's welcome in Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan to discuss this as well as the latest from the House Democrats this week. And, you know, they seem to be, Congressman, attacking every aspect of American life. And I want to start off with you talking about the so-called Equality Act. Now, I was assured that the Democrats were the party of science. But apparently there aren't biological differences between men and women any longer. Your thoughts on this?
No, Tom, good to be with you. No, this bill says how someone identifies is more important than fairness, it's more important than equality, and it's more important than the first right mentioned in the very first amendment to the Constitution, the very first amendment in the Bill of Rights, your right to practice your faith the way you think the good Lord wants you to. And so that, to me, is the biggest affront, the biggest problem with this legislation, not to mention the, I think, undermining of the spirit of Title IX and the opportunity Title IX gave women, and particularly in athletics. Democrats said during the debate, we had all of 90 minutes debate, but you're going to make a major change, something, changing the standard that's been in place for millennia. We had a total of 90 minutes debate. But during the debate on this legislation, they talked about nothing in this bill will hinder women's opportunity to participate in sports. Well, that's true. It may not make it harder to participate in sports, but it's sure going to make it harder to win. And that's part of the spirit of Title IX. And I think why so many women's athletic groups and women are opposing this legislation as well. So this is typical of today's radical left, but not where the country wants to go with public policy.
It's institutionalized discrimination. And at a time when we are dealing with the pandemic and we're trying to get our economy back on track, they've taken time to pass this piece of social engineering. It astounds me. Have any of your constituents came to you and of either party and said, look, this has just gone too far?
Well, no, our constituents think this is ridiculous. The folks that I get the privilege of representing in West Central and North Central Ohio think this kind of stuff is crazy. Everyone is for equal rights. No one wants to discriminate. But this bill specifically says on page 25 of the legislation that you can't use as a defense to what this bill tries to accomplish. You can't use as a defense the Religious Liberty Protection Act, the RFRA, Restoration Act, excuse me. You can't use that as a defense. It specifically says that. So a direct attack. Again, you think about your First Amendment rights, your right to practice your faith, your right to assemble, your right to petition, freedom of the press, freedom of speech. The very first one they mention is your right to practice your faith, your religious freedom rights. That's what this bill directly attacks. And that's why so many Americans are troubled by it.
Yeah, and let's move on now. Congressman, the House is expected to pass this Biden-Sanders massive $1.9 trillion neo-socialist spend-a-thon bill today. This, as the Senate parliamentarian has said, no, you can't put the $15 minimum wage hike in the bill. Nancy Pelosi comes back and says, I'm keeping it in. What is it, this bill, talk to the American people about why this bill is so dangerous the way that it is now.
Well, specifically with the minimum wage, CBO has said that you raise the minimum wage, it's going to cost jobs. Over 1 million jobs will be lost because of that. So, and plus, I just think from a practical standpoint, Democrats want to raise the minimum wage, but they don't want to let people go back to work. So how's that really going to work out? I don't get that. Why don't we just do this? Why don't we let Americans go back to work, go back to school, go back to normal? That would be the best stimulus package. Instead of spending $2 trillion, where 91% of the money in the $2 trillion package doesn't go towards the virus and dealing with the virus. So that sort of tells you that we're time to get back to work, time to get back to school, time to get back to normal. This is just big spending from the Democrats in a host of things. Whip Scalise put out, I think, a great piece of information. In this legislation is $1,400 a month for federal employees to get whose kids aren't in school. So that is going to incentivize schools not opening up. And frankly, people that I represent in the 4th District of Ohio who don't work for the federal government don't get that benefit. So such a deal for the taxpayers, just one of the many problems with this $2 trillion spending package.
Congressman, I think one of the things that seems to be very concerning for a lot of people is that now we're going to be doing these giveaways again. And where they're talking about people getting tax credits in the form of monthly checks and expanded unemployment again. How concerned are you that these giveaways will add millions of Americans permanently to the government dole and permanently expand the welfare state?
Yeah, no, whenever you disincentivize work, you get less of it. Whenever you incentivize something, you typically get more of it. That's just the nature of how things work. So I'm often troubled by that. It's why I've often said that any type of social welfare program, social welfare spending we do should have a work requirement for able-bodied adults as part of that program. So again, I keep coming back to the basics. It's time to get back to work. The absolute best stimulus package is to go back to where we were under President Trump before COVID, with a roaring economy, lowest unemployment in 50 years, economy roaring along, wages up for wage earners, working class, middle class people all across the country. Let's go back to that. And the way you do that is to do what Governor DeSantis has done in Florida. You let your state open up. You let people work. You let kids go to school and get an education. Imagine that. And you let people get back to normal life in the greatest country ever. That's the solution. Florida has proven it. Other states have proven it. And of course, in this bailout package, the biggest recipients are the states that have been most locked down. They're getting the biggest chunk of money because they've been locked down. So it's a bailout for blue states like New York and California, where their governors have kept their citizens locked down, so much so that in California they say, you know what, we think we need a new governor, and they're starting a recall effort.
All right, Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio, always appreciate you being here with us.
You bet, Tom. Thank you.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see on Newsmax TV. You can watch for free right here on our YouTube live stream and be the first one here each time our experts break down real news. Just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and stay with us on America's fastest growing cable news channel, Newsmax TV.